right, new video out of Philadelphia shows plumes of smoke rising into the air after a tanker truck burst into flames, causing a portion of the highway to collapse. The driver who shared this with CNN says he was picking up his son from the airport, driving southbound at the time. And this is the view from his dash cam. Right now, the highway remains closed in both directions around the area. And we're also learning President Biden has been briefed on the collapse and has reached out to Pennsylvania's governor and the mayor's office to offer assistance. Let's bring in CNN's Danny Freeman right now. They're in Philadelphia. So, Danny, city and state officials plan to hold a news conference soon to give an update on the situation.
Yeah, that's right, Fred. Just in the past few minutes, we got that official word that at 5 o'clock we're going to hear from Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney, as well as other state and local officials to just give the latest information on this real tragedy that happened behind us after this collapse. And this is about 11 hours after it happened at around 6:30 earlier this morning. I just want to talk, though, to that video, Fred, and then show you a little bit what we're seeing here. I actually spoke to the man who filmed that video. His name is Mark Fusetti. He said he was driving to the airport. Normal day, really, normal Sunday morning, and then he saw this huge plume of smoke. He thought it might have been a brush fire initially, but then as you saw, he hit that bump right behind me, that southbound bump, and that's when he realized something was going on. And then by the time he got home, he realized how extreme it had been. Now, I know you're looking at some footage right here of the overhead, the northbound lane of I-95. That is what at this point has suffered the majority of the damage. That's the one that collapsed. The southbound, though, at this point, still compromised. That's in the word of city officials. And basically, city officials are saying this all started because a tanker truck was underneath this overpass where we're standing just here on Cottman Avenue, the on-ramp actually onto I-95, and that tanker truck caught fire. That fire got intensely hot, and then part of the highway here collapsed. And I just gotta say, Fred, it's been a bit of a chaotic morning. We saw manhole covers start to explode because there may have been compromised gas lines underneath. We also heard from the Coast Guard that they're looking to see if 8,500 gallons of gasoline may have leaked into some of the water areas, the Delaware, just on the other side of this highway. But take a listen to what one official said when thinking about how long it may take to clean all of this up.
Today's going to be a long day, and obviously with 95 northbound gone, and southbound questionable, it's going to be even longer than that.
So at this point, Fred, again, as you said, the president has been briefed. The Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, has been briefed. We're going to hear from the governor, from the mayor in just about an hour. And of course, when we hear from them, we'll bring that to you. Just a wild day and an intense scene behind us here, still active in Philadelphia. Fred?
Wild day indeed. All right, Danny Freeman, thanks so much. All right, joining me on the phone right now is Pennsylvania Congressman Brendan Boyle. He represents the state's 2nd congressional district where that collapse happened. Congressman, glad you could be with us. So what are you hearing from authorities about the investigation?
Well, your reporter did a wonderful job of summing it up. From my perspective, and I've been on the phone since early this morning with Secretary Buttigieg, with the White House, with our governor, as well as in communication with our mayor, just to make sure that we have all the federal resources that we need possible, because the rebuilding of I-95 is going to be a massive project. And until that happens, you are literally going to have millions of people in what is one of the largest population centers in the country impacted in a significant way.
I've driven through that on 95 lots of times, and I'm trying to figure out how any alternative routes are going to be able to accommodate the number of commuters. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I am, in fact, one of those commuters, and I myself am attempting to figure out how I will get to 30th Street Station tomorrow so I can come down to D.C. For session. This is going to be a major issue, not just for those of us who happen to live in Philadelphia, but really from New York City, only about 70 miles to the north, all the way south to the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. And the initial projections are that it will take months to rebuild. So what I have urged the White House and Transportation Secretary to do is to immediately release the $100 million that they can do as early as tomorrow. We need to expedite the reconstruction of I-95. We know we have to fully replace the northbound lanes. We may possibly have to replace the southbound lanes pending the full analysis by structural engineers.
So even with that $100 million that you're requesting, I mean, repairing roads and bridges, has been underway across the country, ever since that infrastructure, bill passed. But then I'm wondering, for all of the new construction, particularly in and around Pennsylvania, how is this repair and response going to be a setback to fortifying other projects already underway?
Oh, just to be clear, the $100 million is certainly not going to be the total price tag. That figure is what can be immediately released in an emergency situation like this through the Federal Highway Administration. That is what I'm going to be pushing for, and in fact, already am pushing for. And I fully expect that we will receive the help that we need from the federal government. They understand, the White House that is, and Transportation Department, just what a significant area that we're talking about. Now, in terms of impact to future plans, I want to make sure that there is none. There shouldn't be. We have money set aside for emergencies. It's been used in Minneapolis as well as the Pacific Northwest. Well, now we need to be able to tap into those resources, and I'm going to make sure that they're there for us now that we need it.
What are the environmental impact concerns you might have?
It's a bit too early to say. What I just want to stress, though, is that the people of Philadelphia and the surrounding area need full transparency. I want to make sure this is not one of these situations in which people are told something in the immediate aftermath, and then we find out months and years later that, in fact, the full story wasn't told. So in terms of what the full environmental impact is, I will allow for the experts to be able to tell us what they are, but I'm going to be pushing for full transparency in this situation. That is what is absolutely required. The last point I would make, it's a point of good news. Thus far, according to the city's water department, our nearby Delaware River, while it was impacted, our water supply has not been impacted. So that is at least a positive piece of news in an otherwise very negative situation.
Well, that is good news. And I haven't heard anything, Congressman, about the tanker truck driver or any other drivers or passengers who were in the area at the time of the fire.
I have not. I mean, initial reports were that there are no casualties. That is still the reporting as I understand it. But we have been completely left in the dark in terms of who exactly, where was this truck from and who was driving. We are still awaiting those details ourselves.
Okay. Congressman Brendan Boyle, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it, and good luck to you and all the other commuters who are going to have to try and figure out how they're going to get around, like starting now, for tomorrow's rush hour. All the best.
Thank you.